Elijah Carter's evenings often take him down this same street. But tonight, the air feels different. The summer humidity clings to his neck, sweat beading beneath his collar. As each streetlight flickers on, a strange hush settles over the wealthy neighborhood, making every sound sharper. The click of his polished shoes, which usually bolsters his confidence, now feels out of place, an intrusion in a world built to keep people like him uneasy. With every step, Elijah senses eyes on him, as if every breath, every movement, is being measured. Parked along the curb, a police cruiser idles, its engine humming quietly. Officer Mallory sits inside, his gaze locked on Elijah with the intensity of a hunter tracking prey. Suspicion is etched into Mallory's face, the same old message clear in his expression. You don't belong here. For a moment, Elijah's eyes catch the blinking red light of a security camera mounted on a nearby house, recording every detail, every second. Mallory lowers his window, his voice cold and commanding. Evening, sir. Mind stating your business? Elijah doesn't break his stride. In his mind, he hears his mother's voice. Never lose your courage. His answer is calm, but his eyes betray a familiar fatigue, the weariness of someone who's lived this routine too many times. Walking home. You need directions, officer. Mallory's jaw tightens. The cruiser slowly inching along to match Elijah's pace, behind a curtain in one of the houses. A shadow appears, watching for a moment before disappearing. Elijah's phone vibrates. A message from Mayor Carter flashes across the screen. You home yet? But Elijah keeps his hands visible, making no sudden moves. Mallory's eyes remain fixed on him, his grip tightening on the steering wheel. The faint crackle of the radio fills the space between them, adding to the uneasy quiet. None of this is new for Elijah. He knows that walking here is always a test. Each time he has to prove his right to exist in this space, as if this neighborhood belongs to someone else. But tonight, there's a new spark in his Esau's silent challenge. He knows this night will pass, but the memory of this street will leave yet another mark on his heart. Before the story continues, please let us know from where you are watching this video. Write your city or country in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe and hit like if you believe in stories that challenge injustice. Your engagement gives power to voices that need to be heard. The pale interior light of Mallory's cruiser casts a faint glow as his gloved hand extends out the window palm, open, yet heavy with authority. ID, sir, he says, his voice polite but edged with suspicion that lingers beneath the surface. Elijah's wallet feels unusually heavy tonight, as if every past encounter, every loaded question, has settled inside it. He draws it out slowly, each movement deliberate, every gesture measured and calm. Mallory's fingers brush the ID card, his eyes pausing on the address downtown, not from this neighborhood. For a moment, unease flickers across his face before he tightens his jaw, a silent decision settling in his expression. Outside, the street lamp's light flickers, sometimes bright, sometimes dim, casting shifting shadows on the pavement, as if accusations themselves are dancing in the night. Elijah's breath catches for a second, but then his mother's warning echoes in his mind. Always keep your hands visible. He meets Mallory's gaze, not with anger, but with a quiet challenge, a calm assurance that refuses to shrink. Above them, the security camera's red light blinks, recording the moment in stark, silent detail. Mallory's thumb lingers on the edge of the license, a long pause hanging between them, as if the verdict is still suspended in the air. You don't look like you're from around here, Mallory says, his tone softer now, more accusation than question. A faint line appears on Elijah's lips, his eyes carrying the weight of history. No, Elijah replies, his voice steady. Just. Heading home, Mallory's eyes narrow, the cruiser's engine humming quietly, adding another layer of tension between them. The radio crackles with static, filling the space with the illusion of routine, though nothing about this is truly routine. Elijah's hands remain clearly visible on his wallet, every movement open. Somewhere down the street, a distant dog barks, and for a moment, the night itself seems to hold its breath. The officer's tone finally softens. All right, sir, be careful tonight. Elijah simply nods, a small smile forming on his lips, his quiet victory on a night heavy with suspicion. The cruiser's window rolls up with a mechanical hiss, and the security camera's red light blinks again, not just recording an ID check, but quietly witnessing the slow unraveling of old assumptions. The cruiser's spotlight sweeps over Elijah's tailored blazer, casting sharp lines that cut through the night's stillness. His phone vibrates quietly, a message from Mayor Carter. "You home yet?" But he keeps his hands visible, steady, refusing to break the calm. Mallory's voice is low, edged with suspicion. "You look out of place here." Elijah's eyes meet the officer's, unflinching. "Walking home? Is that a crime?" The radio crackles, static filling the space between them, a reminder of the unspoken rules that govern this encounter. The street is silent, except for the distant hum of a lawn sprinkler and the faint rustle of leaves. Mallory's grip tightens on the steering wheel, a flicker of doubt crossing his face before he masks it with a forced neutrality. The cruiser inches forward, matching Elijah's pace. The tension thickening like the humid air around them, a curtain twitches in a nearby window, a shadow watching but not intervening. The neighborhood's manicured lawns and polished cars stand in stark contrast to the unease simmering on the sidewalk. Elijah's breath is steady, his mind replaying the countless times he's been asked the same question, the same suspicion. Yet tonight, there's a quiet defiance in his posture, a refusal to be diminished. Mallory's voice softens, almost reluctant. "ID, please." Elijah reaches into his pocket, pulling out his wallet with deliberate calm. The officer's eyes flick to the license, then back to Elijah's face. Searching for something beyond the card, the cruiser's radio emits a low static hum. The night. Holding its breath, Elijah's voice breaks the silence, firm but controlled. "I'm just going home." Mallory exhales slowly, the weight of the moment settling between them. The tension doesn't break, but the unspoken acknowledgement lingers. The security camera above blinks red, recording not just a man walking home, but a system grappling with its own shadows. The night air is thick with tension as Officer Mallory's finger hovers over the radio button. The cruiser's engine hums low, a steady pulse in the quiet street. His eyes flicker with a momentary hesitation, a crack in the practiced armor of authority. The streetlights cast long shadows, the pavement gleaming faintly under the glow. Voices clipped, professional, but edged with uncertainty. Requesting backup. The words hang in the air, a signal that the routine is fracturing. Elijah's lips curve into a subtle, knowing smile, quiet defiance wrapped in calm. His gaze meets Mallory's, steady and unyielding. The sidewalks? Tiles reflect the swirling red and blue lights, painting his face in a kaleidoscope of scrutiny and resilience. Behind a curtained window, a figure watches silently, the weight of unspoken judgment heavy in the room. The night holds its breath, the usual hum of the neighborhood fading into a charged stillness. Mallory's hand tightens briefly on the steering wheel, the leather creaking softly. The radio crackles again, static filling the space between words. A reminder of the invisible lines drawn between suspicion and truth. Elijah's phone buzzes quietly in his pocket. A message unseen but felt. He keeps his hands visible, fingers relaxed, embodying the quiet strength that has carried him through countless nights like this. The cruiser inches forward, the ritual unfolding with a new edge. The dance of power and prejudice plays out beneath. The watchful eyes of the streets, hidden cameras, a distant dog barks, breaking the quiet for a moment before the night swallows the sound. The tension lingers. A fragile thread stretched taut between two men bound by roles they did not choose. The scene closes on the blinking red light of the security camera, recording not just a stop, but a reckoning in motion. Elijah's phone vibrates. Again, the screen lighting up with a message that slices through the tension. "Mayor Carter, you home yet?" The glow from the display catches Mallory's attention, his gaze flicking to the name, confusion and doubt flickering across his face for the first time. The officer's practiced confidence falters. Replaced by a flicker of uncertainty he can't quite mask. Elijah notices the shift, his expression sharpening. He slips the phone back into his pocket with deliberate calm, the gesture quiet but loaded with meaning. For a moment, the power dynamic tilts the officer's authority, so absolute just minutes ago, now feels suddenly fragile. Mallory clears his throat, voice softer, almost hesitant. "You know the mayor?" The question hangs in the air, heavy with implication. Elijah's reply is measured, his tone carrying both history and warning. "She's family." The words are simple, but the impact is immediate. Mallory's posture stiffens, his hand falling away from the radio. The ritual of suspicion is interrupted. The script rewritten in real time. A security camera's red light blinks steadily above them, capturing every nuance of the exchange. The street, once a stage for routine scrutiny, now feels charged with the possibility of change. The officer's authority, once unchallenged, is now exposed vulnerable to the truth Elijah carries in his pocket. Inside a nearby house, a curtain falls back into place, its watcher retreating into the safety of shadows. The neighborhood holds its breath, sensing the shift, even if it can't name it. Mallory takes a step back, the weight of his badge suddenly heavier. Elijah stands a little taller, his quiet dignity undiminished. The moment is small, but its meaning is Seismica's silent reckoning. A reminder that privilege can crumble in an instant when confronted with reality. The security camera records it all, the red light, a witness to a system forced, for once, to see. The night is thick with the weight of memory as 16-year-old Elijah stands on a cracked sidewalk, hoodie pulled low over his brow. His hands are raised, palms open, trembling slightly under the harsh beam of a flashlight. The officer's voice cuts through the quiet, sharp and unyielding. "Stay out of this neighborhood." Behind the patrol car, his mother sits in the driver's seat, her face pressed to the window, eyes wide with worry and helplessness. Streetlight flickers overhead, casting long shadows that stretch like fingers across the pavement. Reaching for Elijah's fading sense of safety, the air is heavy, dense with unspoken rules and warnings passed down from parent to child. The officer's sneer is a verdict without trial, a reminder that Elijah's presence is unwelcome, his skin a mark of suspicion. Elijah's breath catches his chest tight, the memory burning itself into his mind. He glances at his mother, her lips moving in a silent prayer, her hand gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turn white. His mother's voice echoes in his mind, steady and firm. "Keep your hands visible, always." The words become a shield, a mantra against the world's harsh gaze, a ritual for survival. Elijah's heart pounds in his ears, but he holds still, refusing to let fear dictate his movements. The officer steps back, still watching, suspicion never leaving his eyes. Elijah lowers his hands only when told, the shame and anger mixing in his stomach. The scene fades, but the weight of that night lingers, shaping every step Elijah takes, every glance he meets, every answer he gives to questions that are never really questions. It is a moment frozen in time, a scar that will not fade, a quiet testament to the resilience forged in the crucible of prejudice. The kitchen is dimly lit, the soft glow of a single lamp casting long shadows on the faded linoleum floor. Mrs. Carter stands by the counter, her hands trembling ever so slightly as she demonstrates the careful movements to a younger Elijah. Palms out, slow movements, and always say, "Yes, sir," or "No, ma'am," she instructs, her voice steady but heavy with the weight of experience. The room is silent, except for the quiet clink of a spoon in a mug. The ordinary sounds of home, now transformed into the backdrop for a lesson in survival. Elijah watches intently, his eyes reflecting a mixture of determination and the burden of lessons learned too early. The Warren family photo on the wall shows a smiling Mrs. Carter and a younger Elijah, a stark contrast to the tension in the room now. "This isn't just about respect," she says quietly. "It's about survival." Her words hang in the air, thick with the history of generations who have learned to navigate a world that sees them as threats before it sees them as people. The air is thick with unspoken fears and the legacy of generations who have had to navigate a world that sees them as threats. Mrs. Carter's hands move slowly, mimicking the gestures Elijah must master not just for himself, but for every step he takes outside this door. She demonstrates again, her movements deliberate, her eyes never leaving his face. Elijah nods, absorbing the gravity of her words. "Keep your hands where they can be seen," she repeats, "and never lose your voice, even when it trembles." Her hands worn from years of work and worry rest briefly on his shoulders, a silent blessing, a transfer of strength. A clock ticks softly in the background, marking time that feels both endless and fleeting. The lesson is clear. In a world quick to judge, every movement, every word is a shield against misunderstanding and danger. Mrs. Carter's eyes meet Elijah's, a silent promise passing between them. "You're not just learning to survive," she says. "You're learning to live with dignity." The scene lingers as Elijah practices the motions, his face set with quiet resolve, the weight of the past shaping the strength of his future. The kitchen, once a place of comfort, is now a classroom of space where love and fear intertwine, preparing him for the world beyond the front door. The night air is cool and damp, carrying the faint scent of rain and the distant rumble of a late-night delivery truck. Mr. Thompson, 58, walks home from the corner grocery store, a paper bag tucked under his arm. His steps are slow, deliberate, and his eyes flicker back and forth across the quiet suburban street. Every porch light feels like a spotlight, every shadow a watcher. He grips his keys tightly, the metal biting into his palm, a small comfort. Against the unease that trails him as he approaches his house, headlights sweep across his back. A police cruiser rolls by, slowing just enough to make its presence known. The window is cracked, and the officer inside gives Mr. Thompson a long, lingering look, a look he's felt 100 times before. He forces a polite nod, but the gesture is met with a blank stare. "Happens monthly," he mutters, voice low and tired. The words meant more for himself than anyone else. The car idles for a moment, then moves on, but the feeling of being sized up lingers. His hands tremble as he fumbles with the lock, the keys jangling in the stillness. He glances over his shoulder one last time, heart pounding, before slipping inside and locking the door behind him. The sound of the deadbolt sliding into place is a small victory, a barrier between him and the world's suspicion. Inside, the house is dim and quiet, the only light coming from a lamp in the living room. He sets the groceries down and sinks into his worn armchair, shoulders sagging with exhaustion. On the coffee table, an old photograph of his family catches his eye. He picks it up, running a finger over the faded image, remembering a time when home felt like sanctuary. Now, even here, the sense of safety is fragile, easily shattered by a glance or a question that never needs to be spoken aloud. The next day, Elijah listens quietly as Mr. Thompson recounts the story, his fists clenched in silent solidarity. "It's the same story everywhere," Elijah says, voice steady but heavy. "We're all caught in the same web." The camera lingers on the empty street outside, the streetlight flickering, a silent witness, 2 nights spent under suspicion, and the slow, stubborn hope that one day things will change. The afternoon sun filters through the trees, dappling the park bench where Tina sits, her lunch untouched beside her. She watches the toddler in her care chase pigeons across the grass, his laughter ringing out, oblivious to the tension building nearby. Tina's hands rest in her lap, fingers nervously twisting the edge of her resume, which peeks out from beneath a pile of toys in the stroller. Her eyes dart to the path as 2 officers approach, their uniforms crisp, their faces unreadable. They stop a few feet away, exchanging a glance before one of them addresses her. "Ma'am, is this your child?" The question is simple, but the undertone is sharp, a challenge, wrapped in courtesy. Tina's heart skips. She answers, steady but wary, "I'm his nanny." The officers nod, but their questions continue, each one probing, each one a reminder that her presence here is suspect. The toddler, unaware, toddles back, arms outstretched. Tina scoops him up, holding him close, her arms both protective and defensive. She offers her ID, her voice calm but her pulse racing. The officers study it, their eyes flicking between the card and her face, searching for discrepancies that don't exist. "Where are his parents?" one asks, tone clipped. Tina gestures toward the playground, where a woman waves from a distance, distracted by her phone. The officers hesitate, glancing at each other. One shrugs, the other hands back her ID. "Just checking," he says, but the words sting. Tina forces a polite smile, her dignity intact but bruised. They walk away, their footsteps heavy on the path. She sits back, exhaling slowly, the toddler wriggling in her lap. The plaque on the bench reads, "For all to enjoy," but the words feel hollow. Tina glances at her resume, a law degree from her home country, listed near the top, silent testament to dreams deferred by suspicion and circumstance. Later, Tina recounts the story to Elijah, her voice quiet but resolute. "It's always the same question," she says. No matter how many answers you give, Elijah nods, understanding all too well. The park returns to its gentle rhythm. But Tina's guard remains up, a shield against a world too quick to question her right to belong. The evening air is thick, carrying the distant sounds of traffic and the quiet murmur of neighbors winding down their day. Elijah stands on the sidewalk, the glow from a nearby street lamp stretching his shadow across the concrete. His thumb hovers over the record button on his phone, the device trembling just slightly in his grip. He glances at the screen, the red circle blinking back at him, a silent promise that this time he won't be alone. Mallory's approach is measured, his steps crisp on the pavement. The officer's questions come in a steady rhythm, each one echoing with practiced suspicion. Where you headed? You live here. Elijah answers with calm precision, his voice steady but his jaw tight. The phone's camera captures every word, every flicker of doubt in Mallory's eyes, every pause that stretches just a little too long. A dog barks in the distance, the only interruption to the tense exchange. Elijah keeps his hands visible, the phone held up not as a weapon, but as a shield. The device records not just the words, but the space between them, the weight of history, the burden of proof demanded again and again. Mallory shifts his stance, his gaze flicking to the phone, then back to Elijah. For a moment, his confidence wavers, a crack in the routine. The officer's radio crackles, static filling the silence. A reminder of the system always present, always listening. Elijah's heart pounds, but his face remains composed. The screen's glow reflects Mallory's sunglasses, a small but powerful reversal now. It's the officer under scrutiny, his actions preserved for anyone to see. The power dynamic shifts, if only slightly. As the camera continues to roll, when the encounter ends, Elijah lowers the phone, his breath coming out slow and controlled. He saves the video. The file name is simple. Tonight, the recording is more than evidence, it's a statement. A refusal to let the story be rewritten by anyone else. Later, Elijah shares the footage with a trusted friend, his voice quiet but firm. This is how it happens, every time. The phone rests between them on the table, a silent witness to a truth too often denied, but now impossible to erase. Inside the neighborhood convenience store, the hum of fluorescent lights mixes with the soft beep of a cash register. The clerk, an older man with tired eyes, glances up as Elijah enters, nodding in quiet recognition. A small security camera perches above the counter, its lens sweeping the aisles with mechanical indifference. The timestamp in the corner blinks. 8:17 p.m. Elijah moves through the store, his posture composed but alert. He selects a bottle of water, nods to the clerk, and heads toward the exit. Outside, the cruiser's headlights spill through the glass, painting the floor in shifting patterns of red and blue. Mallory's figure appears in the doorway, his stance rigid, his gaze fixed on Elijah. The camera records it all: Mallory's approach, the brief exchange of words, the way Elijah's shoulders stiffen as the officer steps closer. The clerk pauses, mid-scan, his hand hovering over the register, eyes darting between the two men. He's seen this before too many times. His jaw tightens, but he says nothing. Mallory's questions are muffled by the glass, but his body language is crossed, chin raised, a silent assertion of control. Elijah stands his ground, phone still in hand, his expression unreadable. The camera zooms in slightly, capturing the tension in the set of his jaw, the careful way he keeps his hands visible. A rack of red-wrapped candy bars catches the light, the bright wrappers reflecting the cruiser's flashing lights. The moment is brief, but the camera doesn't blink. It records the hesitation in Mallory's step, the flicker of uncertainty in his eyes as he notices. The security lens pointed directly at him. The exchange ends as quickly as it began. Elijah leaves, the automatic door sliding shut behind him. The clerk exhales, shoulders sagging, and reaches under the counter to save the footage. He's deleted similar clips before, but tonight he hesitates, finger hovering over the button. This time, he lets the recording stand a silent testimony, preserved in pixels and time. Waiting for the day when someone will finally watch and understand. Mallory stands on the edge of the sidewalk, his posture rigid, hands resting on his utility belt. The night air is thick, the distant hum of traffic barely masking the tension that clings to every word. He clears his throat, avoiding Elijah's gaze for a moment before speaking, his tone flat and practiced. It's just standard procedure. He says the phrase, rolling off his tongue with the ease of repetition. Elijah lets out a short, bitter laugh, his eyes narrowing. "Your job finds me a lot," he replies, voice low but unmistakably sharp. The words hang between them, heavy, with a weight of years spent navigating encounters just like this. Mallory shifts his stance, grinding the toe of his boot into the gravel. A subtle display of discomfort masked as authority. A cicada's buzz rises from the bushes nearby, filling the brief pause that follows. The sound is relentless, a natural chorus that seems to echo Elijah's frustration. Mallory glances at the ground, jaw working as if searching for a response that won't come. He glances up, catching the eye of a neighbor standing on their porch, arms folded, watching the scene unfold with a mix of curiosity and caution. Elijah's phone remains steady in his hand, the screen still recording. He doesn't raise his voice, he doesn't need to. The power in this moment comes from restraint, from the refusal to be rattled by protocol or posturing. Mallory's confidence falters, his routine disrupted by the quiet certainty in Elijah's demeanor. A car passes slowly, headlights illuminating the two men in stark relief. For a moment, Mallory seems smaller, his authority diminished by the simple act of being seen. Elijah stands his ground, dignity intact, refusing to shrink beneath the weight of suspicion. The cicada's song grows louder as Mallory finally steps back, muttering, "Have a good night." Elijah nods, his expression unreadable. The encounter ends not with a confrontation, but with the quiet assertion of self-respect, a silent victory against the shield of procedure. From behind the thick trunk of a maple tree, Javier steadies, his phone, the screen glowing in the dusk. He hesitates, thumb hovering over the record button, heart pounding. The scene before him is all too familiar. Officer questioning a black man on a quiet street, tension humming in the air. Javier's breath catches as he zooms in, capturing the officer's badge number. The rigid set of his jaw, the way Elijah stands composed. Refusing to shrink, the camera phone shakes slightly as Javier adjusts his grip, trying to stay hidden but determined not to look away. He catches the exchange, Mallory's clipped questions, Elijah's measured replies, the subtle power struggle playing out in body language and loaded pauses. A car passes, headlights briefly illuminating the tableau, but the world keeps moving, oblivious to the quiet battle unfolding on the sidewalk. Javier's friend, Maria, tugs his sleeve, whispering, "You sure about this?" He nods, jaw set. Someone has to. The phone's microphone picks up the cicada's relentless buzz, the distant bark of a dog, the soft click of Elijah's phone as he ends his own recording. Javier's footage is raw, unfiltered, modern slingshot against the weight of routine injustice. He hits upload, the video spinning into the digital ether. Within minutes, notifications light up his screen, likes, shares, comments pouring in. "This was me last week. Same street, same story." The hashtag walking while black trends overnight. The city's collective conscience stirred by a stranger's lens. Javier watches the numbers climb, a mix of pride and anxiety twisting in his gut. He knows the risks: retaliation, backlash, being labeled a troublemaker, but he also knows the power of bearing witness. The video is more than evidence. It's a call to action, a refusal to let another story go unseen. As dawn breaks, Javier checks his phone one last time. The video has gone viral. He exhales, hope and fear mingling in his chest. Across the city, people wake to a new reality, one where silence is no longer an option, and justice, however fragile, is finally seen that the glow of a phone screen illuminates. A dimly lit room as a young aide scrolls through a flood of social media posts. The hashtag walking while black blazes across the screen, a digital wildfire consuming the city's collective attention. Clips of Elijah's encounter loop endlessly, each replay a fresh wound and a rallying cry. The aide's fingers tremble as she shows the trending tag to Mayor Cassandra Carter, whose coffee has long since gone cold. Her eyes narrow, the weight of responsibility settling like a stone in her chest. The city skyline blurs behind her, a backdrop to the storm gathering in the digital realm. Across the city, phones buzz relentlessly. Newsrooms scramble, reporters chase leads, and activists organize. The hashtag is no longer just a label, it's a movement. A mirror held up to a system long ignored dot in the police precinct, whispers ripple through the locker room. Some officers exchange uneasy glances, others cling to old loyalties. Name is spoken in hushed tones, a symbol of a system cracking under pressure. The mayor's office is flooded with calls concerned citizens, outraged parents, and community leaders demanding answers. The aide's hands hover over the keyboard, drafting statements that feel inadequate against the tide of public demand. Outside, protesters gather, their chants rising in a crescendo that echoes through the streets. Signs wave, faces determined and resolute. The city breathes in the moment, caught between denial and the urgent call for change. The hashtag pulses on screens everywhere, a heartbeat of collective reckoning. It is a digital storm that refuses to pass, a quiet roar that demands to be heard. The camera lingers on the mayor's face, her jaw set, eyes fierce. The city's future hangs in the balance. Caught in the glow of a hashtag that has become a symbol of justice and hope, the precinct's locker room hums with uneasy energy. Fluorescent lights flickering overhead. Mallory stands at his open locker, methodically folding his uniform shirt, movements stiff and mechanical. Around him, conversations drop to murmurs, eyes darting away as he passes. The air is thick with something unspoken doubt, fear, and the slow unraveling of old certainties. Jenkins, his longtime partner, scrubs his hands at the sink, knuckles raw and red. He glances at Mallory in the mirror, then quickly looks away. The silence between them louder than any argument. A rookie officer hesitates at the doorway, clutching a fresh manual, unsure whether to enter or retreat. The badge on his chest glints under the harsh light, but his confidence is nowhere to be found. A locker slams shut with a metallic clang, making everyone flinch. "He messed up," someone mutters, voice barely above a whisper. The words ripple through the room, bouncing off metal doors and tiled walls. Another officer, older and weary, shakes his head, stuffing his gear into a duffel bag with trembling hands. Mallory's jaw tightens as he overhears the fragment's viral video. Mayor's brother, bad look for the department. The sense of camaraderie he once relied on feels brittle, replaced by suspicion and self-preservation. The faded serve and protect poster, peeling in the corner, seems almost mocking now, its promise worn thin by years of routine and denial. Finally speaks, voice low and uncertain. "You should lay low for a while." Mallory doesn't answer, just closes his locker with a dull thud. The rookie slips out, shoulders hunched, eager to escape the tension. As the room empties, Mallory is left alone, settling heavily on his shoulders. The blue wall that once felt unbreakable now shows its cracks. Each whisper and sidelong glance a reminder that change is coming whether the department is ready or not. The police chief stands before a mirror in a dimly lit office, rehearsing lines he's repeated too many times. His voice is steady but thin, each phrase landing with less conviction than the last. "This was an isolated incident," he mutters, the words tasting hollow even as he shapes them. The city outside is restless, the distant chants of protesters pulsing through the glass, an insistent drumbeat of anger and hope that seeps into the room, making the air feel heavier. A PR intern enters, hands trembling slightly as she passes. Him, a thick folder. Inside are Elijah's Records Center's graduate, charity board member, spotless history. The chief's fingers hover over the apology draft, the ink not yet dry. He hesitates, knowing that every word will be dissected, every pause scrutinized. He glances at the intern, who offers a tight, nervous smile before retreating to the corner. Her phone already buzzing with notifications about the trending hashtag in the press room. Reporters shuffle their notes, eyes sharp with skepticism and anticipation. The hum of cameras and the click of pens fill the space with a nervous energy. The chief steps up to the podium, clearing his throat, the microphone amplifying even the smallest tremor in his voice. He begins with the script, "We are committed to transparency and accountability," but the words barely settle before a young reporter interrupts, voice cutting through the room like a blade. Is this truly an isolated incident or part of a larger pattern? The chief's smile tightens. The mask slipping for just a moment, "We will conduct a thorough review," he replies, but the room is unconvinced. Behind him, aides exchange anxious glances, whispering about the growing storm outside and the city's collective conscience awakened by #walking, while Black Dot Elijah watches from the sidelines. His presence calm but unyielding, a silent challenge, a reminder that the truth cannot be managed away. The chief feels the weight of every eye in the room, the pressure mounting as the city waits for more than spin. The scene closes on his face, a mask of controlled anxiety, as the press conference teeters between damage control and a reckoning that will not be denied. The polished marble floor of City Hall gleams beneath the harsh lights, amplifying the sharp, deliberate click of Mayor Cassandra Carter's heels as she strides toward Mallory. The room is packed, reporters, city officials, and officers all pressed together, the air thick with anticipation and the scent of nerves. Cassandra's presence is electric, her posture unyielding as she stops directly in front of Mallory, who stands rigid, hands clasped, eyes darting between the cameras and the Mayor Dot. Without hesitation, Cassandra thrusts a family photo toward him, Elijah's confident smile frozen in the glossy print. Her voice, cold and unwavering, slices through the murmurs. Recognize him? The question is not a question, it is a verdict. Mallory's face drains of color, his grip on authority slipping away in real time. The precinct's flag behind them flutters in the draft, its stars trembling as if anticipating the reckoning. Mallory's hands tremble as he reaches out, but his words catch. In his throat, Cassandra's eyes are fierce, holding him in place, her silence more damning than any accusation. The room holds its collective breath, the weight of history pressing down. Reporters lean forward, pens poised, cameras flashing, capturing every micro-expression, every crack in the old order. The mayor's voice rises, steady and fierce. "You stopped my brother for looking suspicious. This is not just about one man, it's about a system that sees us as threats." The words land with the force of a gavel, echoing in the stillness. Mallory swallows, his confidence crumbling. I thought he was a suspect," he stammers, voice barely audible, eyes searching for escape. The silence that follows is thick, a collective reckoning that cannot be spun or ignored. Elijah steps forward, calm and resolute. "You never asked who I was, only what I was." His words are quiet, but they reverberate through the chamber. A final indictment. The press room erupts in murmurs, the city watching as the old order fractures. Cassandra's final words hang in the air. Justice will be served and change will come. The camera lingers on Mallory's bowed head, the weight of accountability settling like a stone. Outside, the city breathes in the momenta quiet storm gathering strength. The polished marble floor of City Hall gleams under the harsh lights, reflecting the sharp, deliberate click of Mayor Cassandra Carter's heels as she ascends the steps. To the podium, the crowd hushes, cameras flashing, capturing every moment. Elijah stands beside her, calm and resolute. A silent pillar of strength. The city seal looms behind them, its motto, equal justice, worn but unyielding. Reporters lean forward, pens poised, eyes sharp with anticipation. The air is thick with tension, the weight of history pressing down on the room. Cassandra's voice cuts through the silence, steady and fierce. "My brother was stopped for walking home. This is not just about him. This is about every person who has ever been judged by the color of their skin." Mallory stands off to the side, his posture stiff, sweat beading on his brow, his hands tremble. Slightly as he adjusts his tie, the facade of authority cracking. The room holds its breath, waiting for the inevitable. A juror in the front row clenches her program, ink smudging under her fingers. The mayor's words echo a call to reckoning that reverberates beyond the walls of City Hall. Mallory's voice cracks as he finally speaks. I thought he was a suspect." Elijah's gaze is steady, his voice calm but firm. "You never asked who I was, only what I was." The room is silent, the weight of truth settling like dust. Cameras flash, capturing the moment when power shifts. When the old order begins to crumble, outside the city breathes in the moment. To the microphone, her presence commanding yet composed. The weight of the moment presses down, the air thick with anticipation and the unspoken histories of countless others who have faced similar injustice. Her voice cuts through the stillness, clear and unwavering. My brother's crime was existing while black. A murmur ripples through the crowd, some nod in solemn agreement. Others exchange uneasy glances. The spotlight catches Mallory's badge, now a symbol not of authority, but of accountability. His hands tremble slightly, the facade of control slipping. Cassandra's gaze sweeps the room, her words deliberate, each syllable a hammer striking the walls of denial. This is every brother, every son, every father who has been stopped, questioned, and judged, not for what they did, but for who they are. The camera zooms in on Mallory's face, beads of sweat tracing lines down his temple. His breath catches, lips parting in a silent admission of guilt and confusion. The room holds its breath, the tension palpable. A juror in the front row clenches her program, the ink smudging under her fingers. I thought he was a suspect. Elijah steps forward, calm and resolute, his voice steady but filled with quiet power. You never asked who I was, only what I was. The words hang in the air, a verdict delivered without anger, but with undeniable truth. The crowd erupts into a mix of gasps, whispers, and the rustling of papers. The city watches the old order trembling on the brink of change. Cassandra's final words echo. Justice will be served, and change will come. The camera lingers on Mallory's bowed head, the weight of accountability settling like a stone. Outside, the city breathes in the momenta, quiet storm gathering strength. The room feels suffocating as Mallory stands at the podium. Sweat beads on his forehead, tracing slow rivers down his temples. His hands tremble slightly, gripping the edges of the lectern as if it might anchor him to the moment. His breath catches, voice cracking as he tries to steady himself. I thought he was a suspect, he stammers, eyes darting to the floor, then back to the sea of facings. The weight of the mayor's words hangs heavy, pressing down like a physical force. The camera zooms in, capturing the subtle quiver of his lips, the tightening of his jaw. His confidence, once a shield, now crumbles like brittle glass. The silence in the room is thick, punctuated only by the faint rustle of papers and the distant hum of the city beyond the windows. Mallory swallows hard, his gaze falters, the facade slipping away. To reveal a man overwhelmed by the consequences of his actions, the mayor's piercing eyes remain fixed on him, unyielding. The room holds its breath, the tension palpable. Mallory's collapse is not loud or dramatic, is quiet, internal, calm and resolute, a silent contrast to the officer's turmoil. His steady presence is a reminder of the weight of accountability settling. Like a stone in the room, Elijah stands quietly, just off-center on the dais, hands folded loosely in front of him. His posture is neither defensive nor confrontational, simply grounded, present. The room is thick with tension, the air charged with the weight of what has just been said and what remains unspoken. Cameras flash, reporters shift in their seats, pens poised for drama, but Elijah gives them nothing. He does not flinch beneath the harsh lights or the murmurs rippling through the crowd. His gaze remains fixed on Mallory, not with anger or triumph, but with a calm, unyielding assessment, silent demand for accountability. The mayor's words still echo in the chamber. He does not react to Mallory's collapse, does not seek to amplify the officer's shame or pain. Instead, he holds his ground, his silence a powerful rebuke to the spectacle of power undone. It is not emptiness, but intentional refusal to perform outrage for the cameras. A decision to let dignity speak louder than any outburst. A young officer in the back, badge newly pinned to his chest, watches Elijah with a mixture of awe and uncertainty. The message is clear. There is strength in composure, justice in patience. Elijah's silence is not weakness, searching for anger or condemnation, but finds only composure. The officer's shoulders sag, the last of his bravado draining away in the face of Elijah's unwavering presence. The room feels it too, a collective realization that something fundamental has shifted. On the wall behind them hangs the portrait of the city's first black mayor, her eyes stern and proud. The symbolism is not lost on anyone. History is watching, bearing witness to this moment of reckoning. The silence stretches, heavy but not uncomfortable. It is a silence that demands reflection, that turns the spectacle into something deeper and lasting. The cameras flash, but Elijah does not move. His restraint is the reckoning, his calm the measure of justice delivered. The scene lingers on his face, serene and resolute. As the city begins to understand that sometimes the loudest justice is delivered without a single word, the atmosphere in the chamber is electric, every person frozen in the moment, as if the act of breathing itself might shatter the fragile equilibrium. Not a cough, not a shuffle, not even the buzz of a phone interrupts the spell. The collective anticipation is palpable, a single silent question hanging in the air. What happens now when the old order has finally been called to account? A clock on the far wall ticks steadily, each movement of the hand echoing like a gavel, marking the slow passage of a history-changing moment. The weight of expectation presses down on everyone: officials, journalists, community members, even the officers lining the walls. Every eye is drawn to the center of the room where Mallory stands, his head bowed, the posture of a man stripped of certainty. His hands tremble ever so slightly, his breath shallow, as if he too is waiting for permission to exhale. Suddenly, a baby's cry slices through the stillness, a raw, honest sound that cuts across the tension like a blade. The crowd stirs, the spell momentarily broken by the reminder of innocence and the future at stake. The wail is answered by a gentle shushing, and then the hush returns, deeper now, as if the room itself is bracing for the verdict of history. Reporters lean forward, pens poised, cameras clicking softly to capture every flicker of emotion, every subtle shift in body language. The mayor's jaw is set, Elijah's gaze remains unwavering, and Mallory's collapse is witnessed by all, not in shouts or accusations, but in the quiet, public unraveling of power. The silence is not empty. It is charged with meaning, with the unspoken realization that justice, when it comes, is rarely thunderous. It is the slow, heavy pause that follows truth spoken aloud. The camera lingers on the bowed head of the officer, on the steady presence of Elijah, and on the faces in the crowd, some tearful, some relieved. All changed as the moment stretches. The city itself seems to hold its breath, caught between the shadows of the past and the first tentative promise of something better. The chief sits behind his desk, posture rigid, eyes fixed on the document in front of him. With a slow, deliberate motion, he slides the suspension notice across the polished wood. The ink still wet and jagged, a stark contrast to the smooth, controlled surface beneath. The pen used to sign it, a gift from his daughter, with the word "Hero" engraved in silver, leaves a dark blot that spreads across the signature, a stain that seems to seep into the room itself. Mallory's hands tremble as he reaches for the paper, the weight of it heavier than any badge he's ever worn. He folds the notice with care, the crisp edges biting into his palm. The locker room is silent, except for the soft click of his key, turning in the lock for what he knows is the last time. He pauses, fingers lingering on the cold metal, the familiar ridges, now a relic of a life slipping away. The echoes of laughter, camaraderie, and the routine of years past are gone, replaced by a heavy stillness that presses against his chest. Outside the locker room, a rookie officer stands at the threshold, clutching a new manual titled Bias Training, Section 1. See the human. His eyes flicker with uncertainty, a silent question about the future hanging in the air. He watches Mallory, unsure whether to offer sympathy or keep his distance. The faded poster on the wall, once bright with the motto, "Serve and Protect," now peels at the corners, its promise fraying along with Mallory's resolve. The chief watches from his office, face unreadable, but his eyes betray a flicker of regret, a silent acknowledgement that this moment is not just discipline, but a reckoning. Mallory's footsteps echo down the hallway, each step a reminder of what's been lost and what must change. The door closes behind him with a finality that reverberates through the precinct, a sound that signals the end of an era. Outside, the city breathes in the moment. The weight of history presses down, but there is also a sense of release, as if the air itself is lighter. A new chapter begins, not one of denial, but of accountability and hope. Written in the ink of hard-earned lessons, the clock ticks past midnight as Elijah sits alone at his kitchen table, the soft glow of a desk lamp casting long shadows over stacks of documents and a red pen worn from hours of use. The house is silent, except for the occasional rustle of paper and the distant hum of the city settling into night. His fingers trace the lines of the draft policy, each word a promise forged from hard-won battles and quiet determination. Crayon, drawing a brown-skinned officer helping children hangs on the fridge, a vivid reminder of the stakes. Elijah's eyes flicker to it, drawing strength from the innocence and hope captured in those bright colors. He crosses out vague phrases, replacing them with clear mandates. Recommended becomes mandatory. Should is rewritten as must. Each change is deliberate, a shield against the systemic injustices he's fought to expose. His phone buzzes softly, a message from a community leader offering support. Elijah pauses, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He thinks of the countless faces he's met, those who have suffered in silence, those who have dared to speak out. The fight is far from over, but these pages are a blueprint for change, a quiet revolution inked in resolve. He leans back, exhaustion tugging at his bones, but pride warming his chest. These policies are more than words. They are a legacy, a beacon for those who will come after. The night deepens, but Elijah's resolve burns brighter, a steady flame in the darkness. The evening air is cool and still, carrying the faint scent of rain and the soft murmur of voices gathered in quiet. Solidarity. Neighbors cluster along the sidewalk where Elijah was stopped, their faces illuminated by the flickering flames of candles held gently in their hands. Chalk flowers bloom across the pavement, vibrant and defiant, spelling out messages of hope and resistance. Enough, see us, justice now. Each word and drawing is a testament, a silent protest etched in color against the gray of the city. A white mother kneels beside her young son, her hand resting on his shoulder as she whispers, "That could have been you." Her voice trembles with the weight of truth, and the boy's eyes widen, absorbing the gravity of the moment beyond his years. Around them, the crowd is a tapestry of ages and colors, united in a shared reckoning. Some hold hands, others wipe away quiet tears, but all are present witnesses and participants in the slow, necessary work of healing. The streetlight above flickers uncertainly, its bulb recently replaced, casting a clearer, steadier light on a mural painted on a nearby wall. Hands of every shade reach out, clasped together in a silent vow of unity and change. The mural's colors seem to glow in the candlelight, a beacon against the night's shadows. The sight draws people closer, some tracing the outlines of the painted hands with their fingers, finding comfort in the tangible symbol of connection. Elijah stands quietly at the edge of the gathering, his presence calm but resolute. He watches as neighbors exchange stories, tears, and quiet smiles. The vigil is not loud or confrontational. It is a gathering of hearts and minds, a collective breath held in hope and determination. The sense of community is palpable. Each person's presence a small act of resistance against despair. A local pastor steps forward, his voice low and steady, as he offers a prayer for justice and healing. The crowd bows their heads, the flickering candles swaying gently in the night breeze. The moment is heavy with emotion, a testament to the power of community and the slow, steady march toward change. As the vigil draws to a close, Elijah's gaze lifts to the sky. The stars faint but present above the city. His internal voice carries a quiet promise. Change doesn't roar, it whispers in every step forward. The camera lingers on the chalked messages and the glowing mural, symbols of a city awakening to its own potential for justice and dignity. Sits hunched at a corner table in the back of a nearly empty diner. The world outside blurred by streaks of rain on the window. His coffee, once steaming, now sits untouched, a thin film forming on its surface. He stirs it absently, the spoon clinking against the mug, the sound sharp in the otherwise quiet room. The television above the counter plays a muted news segment. Face appears, surrounded by hopeful teens. The headline reading, "Community Mentorship Program Expands." Mallory's eyes linger on the screen, jaw clenched. He glances around, seeking a familiar face, but finds only strangers. The waitress, who once greeted him by name, walks past without acknowledgement, refilling the cup of a construction worker at the next booth. The man nods, exchanging a few easy words with her. Their laughter, a reminder of camaraderie, Mallory no longer shares. His phone buzzes. Notification from a job application. "We regret to inform you." He deletes it without reading further, the rejection stinging even in its brevity. Across the diner, his former partner Jenkins enters, rain dripping from his jacket. Their eyes meet for a split second. Jenkins hesitates, then chooses a seat at the far end of the counter, turning his back to Mallory. The message is unmistakable. The distance is intentional. The bond broken, Mallory's hand trembles as he lifts the mug. The coffee now cold and bitter, he sets it down, staring at the swirling creamer dissolving into gray. The badge that once commanded respect is gone, replaced by a sense of emptiness that settles deep in his chest. The laughter and conversation around him feel distant, as if he's watching life through glass. He looks out the window, rain tracing patterns down the glass, blurring the city lights. The world moves on without him, indifferent to his exile. The diner's bell jingles as someone leaves, the sound echoing in the hollow space. Mallory now he is alone, untethered, his authority dissolved like sugar in cold coffee, irretrievable, forgotten. The morning sun filters through the curtains, casting soft golden lines across Elijah's modest living room. He sits at the edge of his worn sofa, a stack of policy drafts and community letters scattered on the coffee table. In his hands, he turns over the new oversight board badge. The metal, cool and weighty, a symbol of both progress and responsibility. The room is quiet, the only sound, the distant laughter of children playing outside, and the steady hum of the city waking up. Elijah's phone vibrates, a message lighting up the screen. Malik, 14. Can you speak at my school? He smiles, the simple request carrying the hope of a new generation. He types a reply. Absolutely, let's make it happen, and sets the phone aside, his mind already turning to what he'll say, how he'll carry the story forward. He glances at the framed photo on the wall, his mother, proud and resilient, standing beside him at his high school graduation. Her words echo in his mind. You're not just learning to survive, you're learning to lead. The truth of that lesson feels more real now than ever. The work is not done. The city's wounds are not healed overnight, but the ripples of change are visible. New training manuals in the precinct, a mural of clasped hands on the community center, neighbors greeting him with genuine respect. Elijah stands, pinning the badge to his lapel. He catches his reflection in the window, steadfast, determined, older than he feels but stronger than he ever imagined. Outside, the precinct's new slogan, "Serve all gleams in fresh paint," sunlight bouncing off the letters. He steps onto the porch, breathing in the crisp air, the city's pulse steady beneath his feet. As he walks down the steps, children wave from across the street, their voices bright. Elijah waves back, his heart full but restless. The camera lingers on, his face, the quiet conviction in his eyes. Change, he knows, doesn't end with one victory or one speech. It's a journey, one step, one story, one act of courage at a time. The city's morning air is crisp, the sunlight just beginning to stretch across the sidewalks as Elijah steps out of his brownstone. He stands for a moment on the stoop, taking in the street familiar, yet subtly changed. The tension that once pressed against his chest with every step has loosened, replaced by a cautious sense of belonging. He adjusts his jacket, shoulders squared, and starts down the block. Each step lighter than the last dot as he walks. Neighbors who once averted their eyes now meet his gaze. Mrs. Donnelly, who used to pull her son closer when Elijah passed, offers a tentative smile. Her son, a boy of 7, tugs at her sleeve, whispering, "That's him, isn't it?" She nods, her voice soft but proud. "Yes, that's Mr. Carter." Elijah nods back, a quiet acknowledgement that carries the weight of years spent unseen. At the corner, a group of teenagers on skateboards pause their conversation as Elijah approaches. One of them, Malik, lifts a hand in greeting. "Morning, Mr. Carter." Elijah's reply is gentle. "Morning, Malik. Keep your head up." The boys grin, their respect genuine, earned not by fear, but by the story they've watched unfold in their own city. A delivery driver, unloading boxes from his van, pauses, offering a nod. "Saw you on the news? Good work, man." Elijah's thanks is brief, but his smile lingers. Each interaction is small, but together they build a new reality, one where dignity is recognized, not demanded. At the crosswalk, an elderly man with a cane stops Elijah with a hand on his arm. "You made us proud, son," he says, voice rough. With emotion, Elijah's response is quiet. "Thank you, sir. It's not just me." The old man's grip tightens, a silent promise that the change is shared and that the struggle was not in vain. As Elijah continues, the city seems to move with him. Doors open, heads nod, and greetings are exchanged. The respect he receives is not loud or performative, it's woven into the fabric of the morning, a steady current of acknowledgement and quiet justice. For the first time, Elijah feels not like an outsider, but like a neighbor, a leader, and a man seen for who he truly is. Sunlight pours through tall windows into a modest community center classroom. Painting golden rectangles on the floor, stands at the front, his presence calm but commanding, a stack of notes in hand. Around him, a half-circle of teenagers, Malik among them, sit forward in their chairs, eyes bright with curiosity and hope. The room is quiet, save for the soft scrape of pencils and the occasional nervous cough. Each student acutely aware of the moment's significance. Elijah begins not with warnings, but with story snapshots of his own journey, moments of challenge and quiet triumph. He speaks of dignity, not as something granted by others, but as a right carried within. You don't have to shout to be heard, he says, his voice steady. Sometimes, the strongest thing you can do is stand your ground and let your actions speak. Malik raises a hand, voice hesitant but eager. How do you stay calm when people look at you like you don't belong? Elijah's answer is gentle, shaped by years of experience. You remember who you are, not who they think you are. You breathe, you stand tall, and you keep moving forward no matter what. A girl in the back, her hair pulled into tight braids, nods slowly, her eyes shining with understanding. Another student, older and more reserved, scribbles notes furiously, capturing every word. The mural behind Elijah, hands of every color reaching upward together, serves as a silent backdrop, a visual reminder of unity and shared struggle. Elijah passes around his oversight board badge, letting each student hold it for a moment. This isn't just a symbol, he explains. It's a promise that things can change, that you can be the change. The students pass the badge carefully, their faces reflecting pride and possibility. The lesson ends with a circle, each student sharing one thing they believe about themselves. I am strong. I am worthy. I belong here. Elisha listens, his heart full, knowing that these words spoken quietly, but with conviction, are the seeds of transformation. As the students file out, Malik lingers, gratitude shining in his eyes. The camera lingers on Elijah's face, a portrait of hope and responsibility. As the next generation steps forward, ready to carry the lessons of dignity into the world. The classroom is nearly empty now, the buzz of students gathering their things. Fading into the hallway, Malik lingers by his desk, shoulders hunched, eyes fixed on the floor. As Elijah collects his notes, Malik's voice breaks the quiet, barely above a whisper. Can someone like me be mayor too? Elijah pauses, the weight of the question settling between them. He kneels to meet Malik's gaze, his own eyes gentle, a steady smile forming. You can be anything, Elijah says, his voice calm but filled with conviction. The room seems to hold its breath, the moment stretching. Charged with possibility, Malik's eyes widen, a spark of hope flickering to life. Around them, a few other students watch in silence, sensing the significance of what's unfolding. Elijah straightens slowly, the oversight board badge on his lapel catching the light, a symbol of progress and promise. It's not about where you start, he continues, but how you carry yourself, how you stand for what's right. That's what makes a leader. Malik nods, his confidence growing. Even if people say, you don't belong, he asks, voice steadier now. Elijah's reply is firm. Especially then, the world will always have doubters. What matters is that you don't doubt yourself. The afternoon sun pours through the window, bathing the classroom in a warm glow. Malik stands a little taller, his shoulders squared. The other students begin to gather around, drawn by the quiet strength of the exchange. They listen, some nodding, others simply absorbing the hope that has filled the room. Elijah places a reassuring hand on Malik's shoulder. One day, I hope to vote for you, he says with a wink. Malik grins, the possibility of a different future taking root. As the students file out, Malik glances back, his eyes shining with newfound determination. The camera lingers on Elijah's steady gaze, a beacon for the next generation. As the scene closes on the classroom bathed in golden light, a seed of change planted, ready to grow. The evening light softens as Elijah steps through the door of his family home. The familiar creak of the wooden floor beneath his feet, a comforting contrast to the turmoil outside. The air inside is warm, filled with the scent of his mother's cooking and the gentle hum of a house that has weathered many storms. Mrs. Carter stands in the kitchen, her arms open wide, eyes glistening with a mixture of relief and pride. She embraces Elijah tightly, her hands steady now. The tension in her shoulders eased for the first time in weeks. The laughter of his young niece fills the room, a bright, innocent sound that cuts through the heaviness of recent events. She runs to him, arms outstretched, and he kneels to catch her, holding her close as she giggles, her small hands clutching his shirt. It's a moment of pure, unguarded joy, a balm, 2 years of struggle and the weight of battles fought beyond. These wall-dot photos line the hallway's smiling faces frozen in time, reminders of resilience and love. Elijah's gaze lingers on a framed picture of his family, the smiles genuine, the bonds unbroken despite the challenges faced. The house feels alive with history, with stories of survival, hope, and quiet victories. The living room glows with the soft light of a table lamp illuminating the worn but cherished furniture, each piece a testament to endurance. As they sit together for dinner, the conversation flows in gentle waves. Voices low but filled with connection. Mrs. Carter serves food with a steady hand, her eyes shining as she watches her son and granddaughter share stories and laughter. The weight of the day's battles begins to lift, replaced by the quiet strength of family and forgiveness. Elijah feels the years of tension and fear slowly melting away, replaced by a deep sense of gratitude. After the meal, Mrs. Carter's voice breaks the comfortable silence, gentle but firm. "We've come a long way, Elijah, and we'll keep moving forward together." Elijah nods, the resolve in his eyes reflecting the unspoken promise that whatever comes next, they will face it as a family. The scene closes with Elijah standing by the window, the city lights twinkling in the distance. His internal monologue carries a calm certainty. This is home. This is where the fight begins anew. Morning sunlight spills across the polished floors of City Hall as Elijah enters, a stack of freshly printed training manuals tucked under his arm. The bold title, Equity First, stands out in crisp lettering, a tangible sign that the system is finally shifting. In the conference room, officers gather in small clusters, some skeptical, others cautiously hopeful. Their uniforms are immaculate, but their faces betray a mix of nerves and curiosity as they eye the new materials. The chief stands at the front, posture straight, voice resolute. "We start over," he declares, holding up a manual for all to see. The words carry the weight of both apology and promise. There is no grand speech, no attempt to gloss over the past, just an honest acknowledgement that change is overdue and must begin with action, not words. Elijah moves among the officers, distributing the manuals. Some accept them with gratitude, flipping through the pages and nodding at the clear, direct language. Others hesitate, fingers lingering on the cover, uncertainty flickering in their eyes. One veteran officer, his badge dulled by years of routine, quietly asks, "Does this really mean things will be different?" Elijah meets his gaze, steady and sincere. "It has to," he replies. "We owe it to everyone who calls this city home." Outside, maintenance workers remove the old "Serve and Protect" sign from the precinct's entrance. The faded letters replaced by a new plaque, "Serve All." The change is subtle but profound, a signal to the community that the era of empty slogans is over. The city's heartbeat feels different, measured, cautious, but undeniably forward-moving. As the session ends, officers file out with manuals in hand, their conversations quieter, more thoughtful. Elijah lingers by the doorway, watching as the new sign catches the morning light. The system's roots run deep, but with every page turned and every policy rewritten, the ground shifts just a little more. He knows the work is far from finished, but for the first time, real reform feels possible, rooted, not in rhetoric, but in mandates that demand accountability and equity for all. The city's official website loads with a soft blue glow, its homepage transformed into a living archive of change. Elijah's face greets every visitor, his story featured in a scrolling banner alongside images of community vigils, mentorship circles, and the new Serve All Precinct sign. The headline reads, "Justice Grows Harrah City's Journey Toward Equity." Each photo is carefully chosen, each caption a piece of a larger narrative that refuses to let the past be forgotten. Visitors scrolled through a timeline of reform. The viral video, the press conference, the first community vigil, There are testimonials from neighbors Mrs. Donnelly's quiet pride, Malik's newfound hope, Tina's voice finally heard. The website doesn't shy away from the hard truths. There are links to the new training manuals, policy documents, and a public forum where citizens can share their stories and hold leaders accountable. Elijah's interview plays in a featured video, his words calm and direct. Change is never easy, but it's always possible. We're building something better, one step at a time. His presence is steady, his dignity unmistakable. The video cuts to scenes of Elijah in the classroom, on the sidewalk. At home, with his family, moments of leadership and vulnerability woven together. A section titled Voices of the Community scrolls by, filled with letters, artwork, and short clips from residents of every background. The city's digital face is no longer just a portal for permits and announcements. It's a living, breathing testament to resilience and progress. The new banner at the top reads, "Justice grows here," the words bold and bright against the city's skyline. For some, the website is a source of inspiration. For others, a challenge to do more. But for everyone, it is a clear message. The city is watching, learning, and changing. Elijah's story is now public record and enduring legacy, a reminder that justice is not a moment, but a movement. The evening sky deepens into a soft indigo as Elijah stands on his porch, the quiet hum of the city settling around him like a gentle embrace. Children's laughter drifts from the street, their voices bright and unburdened, weaving through the air like a promise. Elijah's gaze follows their play, a faint smile touching his lips, the weight of the day lifting just enough to let hope. In Dot, his internal voice is calm, steady. Change doesn't roar. It whispers in every step forward. The words are not a boast, but a quiet truth, a mantra forged from years of struggle and resilience. The porch light casts long shadows, stretching. Behind him, like the legacy he carries, both heavy and inspiring, neighbors pass by, nodding in greeting, their faces open and warm. A patrol car slows at the corner, the officer inside offering a respectful wave before driving on. The city breathes easier tonight, the air charged with a subtle but undeniable shift. Justice, once a distant dream, now walks quietly among them. Eyes lift to the horizon, where the first stars begin to twinkle. The camera pulls back slowly, capturing the neighborhood bathed in the soft glow of streetlights and the promise of dawn. The scene fades with the lingering sense that this is not an end, but a beginning, a step in a journey toward a more just and dignified future. The quiet strength of change is in the small moments, the everyday acts of courage and kindness that ripple outward, unseen but deeply felt. Elijah's story is a testament to that power, a reminder that progress is not always loud, but it is always persistent. As the screen darkens, the final words echo softly, a call to action and reflection. Justice moves with quiet strength, and it moves forward one step at a time.